Thank you very much. You know, a lot of people ask me about Dr. Fauci. I like Dr. Fauci. I actually get along with him great. But they said, why didn't you fire him? I said, no, he was good. He'd recommend something. I'd do the opposite, and we always turned out to be right. Sir, don't close the borders to China. We closed them very early. Get no credit for anything, but these are minor details. Any questions? Christina? Yes. Thank you very much. Well, I chose you. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, sir. So what is the possibility of a settlement prior to trial? Because obviously any court ruling in your favor, and you've laid out a very compelling case, anything prior to a court ruling would certainly limit everybody else who's not in the class.
We're not looking for a settlement. We don't expect a settlement. They fight, and they fight hard. They've never had anything like this, and they've never had a team of very attractive-looking people in every way. Look at that. That's quite a legal team. That's like from a picture. But they are a very effective, much more importantly, legal team. So we're not looking to settle. We don't know what's going to happen, but we're not looking to settle. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
President. So we were talking about privately held companies that have been censoring. What's your position on public broadcasting, NPR, who also seem to be filling the same kind of role for a certain
It's such a great question. They are terrible. They are terrible. And it's not only what they say, it's what they don't say. For instance, I was informed that there are record numbers of murders took place this weekend. Record numbers. They don't even talk about it on NBC and CBS and ABC and NPR. They don't talk about it, and it's a big story. That's why the credibility of the mainstream media is the lowest it's ever been. Lowest it's ever been. And you know, I hate to take credit for this, but I'm very proud of the fact that I exposed them for what they are. They are terrible, terrible representatives of our country. They don't talk about crime. They don't talk about Chicago, where you had 260 people shot this weekend. That's in Afghanistan. You know, we didn't lose one soldier in the last more than a year. And I will say that was largely because of me, but I won't take credit. But the good news is I will never be given credit either. But we haven't lost a soldier. Think of it, 260 people shot in Chicago. Massive numbers of people shot in New York. And they don't prosecute these people. These are killers. They don't prosecute these people. They have no process. They only go after Republicans. It's a terrible thing that's happening in our country, and a very dangerous thing, and a very good question. Please, please, Rob.
How you doing? How do you fight the argument that these are private companies? They can be as liberal as they want to be.
Well, they say that they're private, but they're no longer private. If they gave up their Section 230 liability protection, I would go along with them. I'd say they're private. We'll open up other privates, and other privates will be opened up. I mean, I know that for a fact because I'm involved in that. But I will say that they have Section 230. It's a liability protection, the likes of which nobody in the history of our country has ever received, just a small group. And we're not going to stand for it, and that makes them, in my opinion, very subject to the kind of penalties that we're talking about, which is potentially, John, trillions of dollars. It's a number that the likes of which nobody's seen before. John, you might want to address that.
The Supreme Court over the years, especially recently, has been very clear what you can and can't do as a private company. And they've done it all. There's mainly three reasons. The president has talked about the immunity. There's also the coercion by the Congress, congressmen, congresswomen, in the media and in testimony and in their tweets. And there's also the fact that this law, when this law was passed, Zuckerberg was in middle school, okay? It has served its purpose. It's now it has grown into this monster that Congress never intended. And the real bottom line is Congress cannot delegate what it can't do itself. And that's what they've done.
You know, we were talking earlier about when 230 was created in 1996, and really I believe one of the main reasons was something we all care deeply about, but as a former Attorney General, getting the sex predators off instantly. Yet today, there are still, and this may have come out during the congressional testimony, but there were over 16 million reports still of sex predators, of sex exploitation of children online, 45 million photos and videos that are allegedly still out there. That's what they need to be focusing on.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think the timing of this is perfect, especially going to the midterms and looking ahead to 2024. Can you share your thoughts on the timing of it and how this decision can help protect conservative viewpoints as we move further to 2024 elections?
The timing just seemed to be right because they've been so abusive, so bad, what they've done, not only to the President of the United States, but to so many others. Hamas has a site. The greatest killers in the world have a site. They're never reprimanded. They're never red flagged. Nothing ever happens. The president, and you, again, get the quote. You won't believe it. But these people call for the destruction of Israel, the destruction of the USA. Nothing happens to them. And I just think it's become so flagrant and so outrageous and outrageously ridiculous that this was a good time. Not having to do with the elections. I think this will go on beyond the elections. I would be surprised if it didn't. But I think it's a very important thing for our nation. Very, very important. Yeah, please, go ahead, please.
Just to clarify, who should be the arbiter of what's hate, what's offensive, what should not be published, what goes beyond free speech? And because so much of this, your banning, has to do with comments you made around January 6th, just to clarify further, what did you do to stop the insurrection, as some people call it, and why were you not able to stop it?
So that whole event, unfortunate event, just went through Congress and a report was issued and my name wasn't even mentioned. And I appreciate that. I was surprised, frankly, because I would have assumed that they would have come up with their typically biased, at least on the Democrat side, statement. The report came out, as you saw, 2 weeks ago. My name wasn't even mentioned. That was an unfortunate event. I say, though, however, people are being treated unbelievably unfairly when you look at people in prison and nothing happens to Antifa, and they burned down cities and killed people. There were no guns in the Capitol. They burned, except for the gun that shot Ashley Babbitt, and nobody knows who that man were. If that were the opposite way, that man would be all over. He would be the most well-known, and I believe, I can say man, because I believe I know exactly who it is, but he would be the most well-known person in this country, in the world. But the person that shot Ashley Babbitt, boom, right through the head, just boom. There was no reason for that. And why isn't that person being opened up, and why isn't that being studied? They've already written it off. They said that case is closed. If that were the opposite, that case would be going on for years and years, and it would not be pretty. So I just thought this was a very important time. Yeah, please, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Twitter, if you're successful in this, and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all the social media platforms let you back on and let everyone else back on uninhibited the way that everyone's supposed to have access, would you use their platforms again?
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know. I might not. You know, I'm in a different position because if I put out a press release, you know, I'm getting extremely good pickup. But that's me. The world, everybody that's getting banned they can't put out a press release. People would say, who the hell is that? Nobody's going to pick it up. And even myself, I could instantaneously get the word out. If somebody says a lie, like the fake media, I can at least give the opposing side, which I've been doing for 6 years. I used to get great publicity before I ran for office, okay? I've been doing this for 5 or 6 years where I can get a word out, an opposing word. Today you can't do that. They took away the rights of, in my opinion, the majority. I really believe it's the majority because people aren't for all of these things. Now they have voter ID. That's another one when you talk about voter ID. All of a sudden they love voter ID. They fought it vehemently. I noticed 2 days ago I watched a congressman, happened to be from South Carolina, say, no, I've always been in favor of voter ID. Well, he hasn't because you look at his statement for the last 2 years. He's been vehemently opposed. But now they lie like nobody has ever lied. I watched him say, "I've always believed in voter ID," essentially. And I said, that's unbelievable. Fortunately, the particular newscast had his statements from before, of which they were too numerous to put up, but they put up enough of them. But the Democrats are now saying, because they saw it was an 88% positive issue, they're now saying, we believe in voter ID. We have to have voter ID. There isn't one Democrat in the country that said that. And in a year from now, the fake news will say they've always been on this side. It's amazing. If you say it long enough, hard enough, often enough, people will start to believe it. That's what happened with Russia. That's what happened with Ukraine. That's what happened with, well, the worst is when they don't say it, like the laptop from hell. They didn't want to, you look at that thing, there is more criminal activity on that laptop than Al Capone had, if he ever had a laptop. Would like to give Al Capone one, but he was a baby compared to what I was able to see. Brooke, would you like to say a few more words? Yeah.
One question, how can somebody join the lawsuit?
That's a good question, Brooke.
That you can join the lawsuit by going to takeonbigtech.com. I did not plant that question, but I very much appreciate it. Takeonbigtech.com, and we really are looking for the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Americans. And let me just say one quick thing. It was a great question about the political ramifications of this lawsuit versus 2 years or 4 years. And certainly it will be part of the national narrative, I think, moving forward for the next couple of years. But this effort really is about the battle for the future of this country. And when we lose the opportunity to be part of a public discourse, whether as conservatives, as Republicans, as libertarians, as fighting against critical race theory, as questioning masks and whether our 11, 13, 15, and 16-year-olds, my children, should be forced to wear a mask all day, whether we're questioning illegal immigration and how to use that, that's crazy, and it's not okay, and this is not America, and it is not the America that I know we all want for our children and our future grandchildren, and that's what this lawsuit is about. We have the best legal team in the country. The America First Policy Institute is partnering with them to ensure that the word gets out, that we can truly, truly give our Americans who have been censored, who have been compromised, who have been told that they don't have a voice, that will no longer be the case. So thank you. Thank you all.
I want to make one thing. Gentleman asked who would decide what's hate speech. Who would decide this thing? For 200 years, over 200 years, it's been the Supreme Court. We can't let it be in the hands of unelected people or unappointed justices, but they have done such a good job for 200 years on this issue. We don't need any panels. We don't need any oversight committees. We need the Supreme Court and the judicial system to come into the 21st century.
All right, so I want to thank everybody. It's about 94 degrees out. I'm sorry to do this. It was supposed to be a beautiful day, and 72 and perfect, and it's a little bit hot. We're going to have refreshments, drinks. We'll bring you into the clubhouse if you'd like, but we'll take care of you because I see some of you are in serious trouble sitting there. I do hope I can leave you with two things. Number one, this is a very important lawsuit. This is a big time, long-awaited, very, very long-awaited. The complexity of it, I guess, took a longer period of time, but other litigants also want to join in with us. And we have great confidence in the courts, and we're going to see what happens. And the other thing I just ask the mainstream media to go back and do on network news and everywhere else is please discuss the horrors of what's going on in all cases, Democrat-run cities. The hundreds and hundreds of people that are being killed on a weekly and monthly basis so that people will do something about it. By you're not talking about it, you're not helping Biden, and you're not helping the Democrats, you're hurting the country. So I hope you can go out and just talk about the crime. Say 260 people were shot in Chicago. It's a number. It's a stat put out by the city over the weekend. There's no war that we lost that many and for a long time. And many people died, young people. And New York is a horror show. New York has the worst crime wave that they've had ever. And nothing's done about it except no bail. They let everybody out of prison. They just left almost 500 people out. They let them all out. They caused tremendous damage and harm and physical harm to other people. in death. And they let them out. If the people don't hear this, you'll never be able to solve the problem. It's a problem like this country has never had. What's happened over the last 6 months in particular, and what's happening in certain cities, is a horrible thing. It's an embarrassment to our country, but more importantly, it's just a horrible thing. The loss of human life on a weekly basis, and you turn on these major newscasts that a lot of people are watching, and it's not even mentioned. You have to change. You got to get your credibility back. You don't have the credibility. You have to get it back. I want to thank everybody very much, and we'll be seeing what happens. John, good luck. Pam, good luck. Everybody. Trish, I want to thank you for being so great. You're really fantastic. I appreciate it very much. You've been so incredible. Thank you. And thank you to everybody. Thank you very much.